Alex had never expected that exploring a new planet would feel so alive. Planet Virelia stretched endlessly under a greenish sky, dotted with swirling clouds that shimmered faintly with colors he had no names for. His boots sank slightly into the soft moss covering the ground, and the air smelled faintly sweet like a forest in early spring, but with a sharp tang he couldn't place. Every step he took revealed something new. Giant flowers that glowed faintly in the dim light, insects that flickered with colors as if they were tiny stars, and trees whose roots twisted into floating platforms, defying gravity. He had been sent with a small human exploration team, tasked with studying the planet's flora and fauna, but somehow Alex had wandered off. Curiosity had a way of doing that. And now, as he crouched behind a towering crystal formation, he realized he wasn't alone. At first he thought it was a mirage. A figure moved gracefully between the trees, tall, elegant, and luminous, her skin shimmering faintly like polished gemstones. Her eyes were large and deep, reflecting light like twin pools of liquid silver. She moved without a sound, yet her presence made the air feel heavy, almost alive. Alex's breath caught in his throat. "Hello?" he called softly, hoping she would understand. The figure froze, tilting her head, and then slowly approached. Her gaze fell on him, and Alex felt, rather than heard, a sudden wave of curiosity emanating from her. It was not human curiosity. It was sharper, more intense, a probe into his very thoughts. He staggered back a step, startled. You are small," she said in a melodic voice. It wasn't English, but somehow he understood her perfectly. It was as if her words resonated directly in his mind. "You move like a creature of the forest. You belong to me now." Alex blinked. "Wait, what? I'm human. I'm not." But she didn't wait for him to finish. With a swift movement, she gently scooped him up as though he weighed nothing at all. Alex flailed, arms and legs thrashing, but it was useless. She held him with one arm as if he were a small animal. His protests were muffled by the sheer shock of the situation. "Put me down," he shouted, struggling. "I'm a scientist. I'm not a pet." The alien woman's silver eyes widened slightly, not in anger, but in a way that made him feel she found his struggle amusing. "Pet," she repeated almost as a question, her voice ringing like wind chimes. "You small, you fragile, you belong to me." Alex froze. He had been on strange planets before, had faced dangerous wildlife and unpredictable environments, but this was entirely different. He was not just out of his element, he was in someone else's world entirely, and she was convinced he belonged to her. "Okay," he said slowly, trying to reason with her. Let's calm down. I am human. I am not a pet. I can talk. I can think. I can do things." She tilted her head again, watching him, and for a moment Alex felt like he was being examined by a creature far more intelligent than any human. And in some ways he realized he probably was. "You think?" she said. "You move differently than others. But you small. You fragile. You belong to me," Alex groaned. There was no reasoning with her, not yet. He needed to find a way to survive until he could escape, or at least understand her world better. "Fine," he said, taking a deep breath. "If you're going to carry me, can you at least not step on the glowing flowers? They're fragile and they react badly if crushed." Her eyes flickered with curiosity, and she adjusted her grip to avoid the plants. Alex realized that this alien woman, though enormous and powerful, was not cruel. She simply had a very different perspective. As she moved, the world around them changed. The trees grew taller and the air grew thicker with the scent of something sweet and sharp at the same time. Small creatures peeked from behind leaves, their eyes glowing faintly. Some of them were clearly pets, or something like pets to her. Alex noticed that many of them were small, fragile, and moved with cautious curiosity around her. She carried him for what felt like hours, though he had no way of measuring time. Eventually, they reached the edge of a clearing, and Alex could see the city in the distance. Towers of crystal and metal stretched high into the sky, some floating in midair, connected by bridges made of shimmering energy. The light reflected off the towers and sent dazzling colors scattering across the forest. "You live here?" Alex asked, awe creeping into his voice despite his predicament. She nodded, her expression unreadable. "Yes, here. Home," he swallowed hard. This was more than just a city. It was a civilization unlike anything humans had encountered, and somehow he was going to be part of it, at least for now. "Okay," he said carefully. "I'll play along, but I'm not a pet. I have skills. I can help. I can learn, her eyes narrowed slightly. Learn? She repeated. Yes, maybe. But small. You belong to me, Alex sighed. He had expected danger on this mission. He had expected strange wildlife. He had not expected to be kidnapped or mistaken for a pet by an alien woman who could crush him with one hand. When they arrived at the city, he saw why she had been so protective of him. The city itself seemed alive, almost as if it were a single organism. The buildings pulsed faintly and the air vibrated with energy. Other creatures scuttled along the streets and platforms, some walking on all fours, some gliding. The alien woman's presence commanded respect and obedience. The smaller creatures seemed to treat her like a guardian, protector, or master. She set him down gently on a soft, glowing platform. Alex stumbled but stayed on his feet. So and what now? He asked. She crouched slightly, bringing her face closer to his. Alex felt a rush of energy from her gaze, like a wave washing over him. Now you learn, she said simply. He frowned. Learn what? You small. You fragile. You survive, she said. You belong to me, Alex sighed. He realized that arguing would get him nowhere. Instead, he decided to observe, to learn. He needed to understand her species, their society, and their rules if he wanted to survive and maybe, just maybe, find a way back to his team. The first lessons were simple: how to move without startling the smaller creatures, how to communicate through gestures and basic telepathy, and how to avoid breaking things that were far more fragile than they appeared. Despite the strangeness, Alex felt a spark of excitement. This was unprecedented. No human had ever been so close to an alien civilization like this. Over the next few days, Alex learned quickly. He discovered that the city was powered by energy harvested from crystals that grew naturally in the ground, and that the citizens of this world could manipulate these crystals with thought. He began experimenting with their technology, careful not to damage anything. Each small success earned him a flicker of respect from the alien woman, whose name he now learned was Lyra. Lyra observed him constantly, sometimes silently, sometimes with direct telepathic probing. Alex found it uncomfortable at first, but he began to understand that she wasn't being cruel. She was simply curious. She wanted to know what made humans different, and perhaps what made them useful. One evening, as the two of them sat on a glowing terrace overlooking the city, Alex finally asked the question that had been on his mind since the day he was taken. Lyra, why me? Why did you think I was a pet? She tilted her head, eyes reflecting the light of the floating crystals. Small, fragile, moves like animal. Others, small like you. Already mine, you. New, you. Different, you. Belong to me. Alex shook his head. Different how? You. Clever, you. Survive, you. Not like others, she said. You. Useful, you. Belong to me now. He couldn't help but laugh softly, even though the situation was terrifying. Useful, huh? Well, I hope my usefulness doesn't involve being chased by anything sharp or eating weird alien plants. Lyra's expression softened slightly, and she extended a hand. Alex hesitated, then touched it. The warmth that flowed through him was unlike anything he had experienced. A mixture of calm, curiosity, and something that almost felt like friendship. That night, Alex lay in a small chamber that had been prepared for him. It was surprisingly comfortable, with soft surfaces and gentle lighting. Despite the strangeness of everything, he felt safe. He realized that Lyra wasn't trying to harm him. She simply had a perspective unlike any human's, and he had to adapt. As he drifted off to sleep, he thought about the days ahead. He would have to learn quickly, understand Lyra's world, and find a way to survive. Not as a human among humans, but as a human among beings who saw him as something entirely different. And yet, despite everything, a part of him was thrilled. He was on an alien planet, living among creatures far more advanced and powerful than humans. He was small, fragile, and mistaken for a pet, but perhaps in this new world being different was a kind of strength. He closed his eyes, feeling Lyra's presence nearby. You belong to me now, she had said, and for the first time Alex didn't feel entirely afraid. Tomorrow, he would begin learning not just how to survive, but how to thrive in a world where humans were not the dominant species, but perhaps could still shine in ways no one had expected. The first light of Virelia's twin suns spilled across the crystalline towers of the city. Alex woke slowly, stretching his stiff muscles. His body ached from the previous day's lessons in navigating Lyra's city, but a strange excitement pushed him forward. He had survived the first encounters, and now he had to prove that humans were more than just fragile creatures to this alien civilization. Lyra was already there, waiting. Her silver eyes caught the sunlight, reflecting it in dazzling patterns across the terrace. She regarded him silently for a moment, then motioned for him to follow. Alex obeyed, stepping carefully over the glowing energy pathways that snaked across the ground like living rivers. Today. Learn more, Lyra said simply. Useful. Alex nodded, trying not to flinch at her telepathic intensity. I'm ready, he said. He had spent the night thinking of ways to demonstrate his abilities. Humans might be small here, but their ingenuity and adaptability had always been their strength. Their first stop was the lower levels of the city, where smaller creatures scuttled about. They carried objects, tended to crystal gardens, and moved with a precision that Alex admired. Lyra gestured to a broken energy conduit. Fix, she said. Alex examined it carefully. The conduit was part of a complex network that channeled energy from the crystals to the city's floating platforms. A misstep could overload the system, potentially causing massive damage. But Alex had worked with delicate technology before. Okay, he said aloud. Let's see what we've got. Using his human intuition, he adjusted the crystal alignments, tapping into the conduit's resonance. Slowly, light began to flow through the broken channel again, steady and bright. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. You clever, she said. You survive. You different. Alex smiled, feeling a surge of pride. He had been underestimated, but this was his chance to show humans were capable of more than Lyra had assumed. As they continued through the city, Alex noticed how much care Lyra's species took with every detail. Platforms floated effortlessly, bridges shimmered with energy instead of being solid, and the creatures around them treated her presence with reverence. Yet despite their power, there was a sense of harmony that Alex found inspiring. You learn fast, Lyra said. Perhaps you not only small, perhaps you help more. Alex considered this. If he could help, truly help, he might earn more than respect. He could become a valued member of this alien world. I want to help, he said sincerely. Tell me what needs fixing, tell me what's dangerous, I'll do my best. Lyra tilted her head, an expression that Alex was slowly learning meant approval. Danger comes, she said simply. You ready? Before Alex could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. A low, resonant hum filled the air. From the distance, a shadow moved over the city, a massive creature, unlike anything Alex had seen. Its body was covered in jagged, crystal armor, and its eyes glowed with a threatening red light. Smaller creatures scattered in panic. Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding calm among the citizens. Alex, stay close. Watch. Learn. Alex's heart raced. This was his first real test. He had observed, he had learned, but now he had to act. The creature's steps caused the ground to shake, dislodging energy crystals and threatening to damage the city's delicate structures. Alex quickly assessed the situation. The creature seemed drawn to the energy sources, possibly perceiving them as a threat or a food source. He needed to distract it, to protect the city while Lyra directed her species' defenses. He ran toward one of the smaller energy bridges, using it to maneuver between the creature and the city's core. Drawing on his knowledge of physics and human ingenuity, he tapped the crystal's energy in a specific rhythm, creating pulses that drew the creature's attention. The massive beast paused, confused, then followed the pulses, giving Lyra and her people the chance to reinforce the city's defenses. Lyra glanced at him, and Alex felt the weight of her approval wash over him. Clever. You survive. Useful. The creature eventually retreated, driven away by coordinated energy pulses and the alien species' interventions. The city had been saved, and Alex had proven that humans, though small, could be invaluable when they combined intellect, courage, and quick thinking. After the danger passed, the citizens began to return to their routines. Lyra turned to Alex, her expression softer now. You. Not pet. You. Friend. You. Help. You. Belong. Alex felt a warmth he had never known. He had come to this world by accident, mistaken for a fragile creature, and yet he had shown that humans could adapt, think, and contribute in ways no one had expected. Over the next days, Alex continued learning. He explored the city, experimented with crystal energy, and even began communicating with other members of Lyra's species using basic telepathic impressions. Each success strengthened the bond between him and Lyra, who, despite her initial assumptions, began to treat him with genuine respect. One afternoon, they stood on a high platform overlooking a waterfall of floating crystals. Lyra's gaze was distant, thoughtful. Alex, you, different. You, not like others. Humans, strong, clever, survive. Alex smiled. I'm glad you finally understand. It's been an adventure. She tilted her head, a small smile forming on her lips. Adventure, yes. You belong here, but not like small ones. You equal. Alex felt a sense of accomplishment he had never experienced. On this alien world, among beings far stronger and more advanced than humans, he had carved a place for himself, not as a fragile, mistaken pet, but as a respected ally and friend. Later, as they walked through the city, Alex saw creatures tending to the crystal gardens, repairing floating platforms, and communicating in ways humans could barely comprehend. He realized that despite the differences, there was one universal. Truth, intelligence, courage, and adaptability were recognized and respected across species. Lyra paused at a terrace overlooking the city, turning to him. You belong to me. Yes, she said, teasing lightly, but now, as friend, not as pet. Alex laughed, the sound echoing across the crystalline towers. I can live with that, he said. Besides, it's a lot better than being chased by giant creatures or stepped on by floating bridges. Lyra tilted her head again, her expression almost human in its amusement. You, clever, funny, survive. Perhaps, humans, valuable. Alex looked at her, feeling a bond that went beyond fear, misunderstanding, or survival. In this strange, luminous city, on a planet unlike any he had imagined, humans had shown what they could do. Small, fragile, and underestimated, they could think, adapt, and shine. For the first time, Alex didn't feel out of place. He didn't feel like a visitor or a mistaken pet. He felt like he belonged, not because he was taken, but because he had proven himself. As the twin suns of Virelia set, casting long shadows over the floating crystals, Alex knew that his adventure was only beginning. There were more discoveries to make, more challenges to face, and more ways to show that humans, no matter where they were, could rise to the occasion. Lyra stood beside him, silent but present, her hand brushing against his in a gesture of companionship. You survive. Clever. Belong, she said. Alex smiled. And you taught me that even in a world where I seem small, I can still make a difference. She nodded, and together they watched the glowing city stretch out before them. It was a city full of life, energy, and wonder, a city that now included a small human who had once been mistaken for a pet, but who had shown that humans could shine in ways no one had imagined. And in that moment, Alex realized something profound. Belonging wasn't about being taken or being seen as fragile. It was about being recognized, respected, and appreciated for what one could bring to the world. In a strange, alien city, under twin suns, among beings stronger and larger than any human could imagine, Alex had found his place. He belonged, not as a pet, but as a friend, a problem solver, and a human who had proven that no matter where they went, humans could rise to the challenge, adapt, and inspire awe. And that was exactly what he intended to keep doing.